C-224.
Senator Deakin, Ontario.
Thank you. Senators, today I rise to speak to C-224, an act to establish a national framework for the prevention and treatment of cancers linked to firefighting. This bill, I'm hopeful we can move through committee and the Senate with your full support. Before I get to my remarks, I welcome each senator and your staff to watch the recently released Canadian documentary entitled Burned, Protecting the Protectors. This film tells the story much better than I can. It provides a very hard-hitting and emotional examination of par and polyfluorinated substances, PFAS for short, used in firefighter protector gear. When you take into account the other chemicals they breathe in and are covered in whenever they run into a burning building, it is no surprise that their risk for cancer is so high. With that said, colleagues, our fire departments, our firefighters, conjure different images for each one of us. Small volunteer teams, large urban units, some with very frequent and simultaneous runs, and some in very rural regions with tremendous access challenges, some even from our families. We all know the tremendous importance they play in our communities. We need them. As the first senator from Waterloo Region in 71 years, spending time with our firefighters and first responders has been a priority for me in ensuring I understand the needs of this community that includes 7 diverse townships. At the height of the pandemic, I visited the fire halls when able and had Zoom calls with the platoons to listen to their ongoing issues. A few weeks ago, thanks to the last-minute efforts of our Black Rod and his officer, Chase Helbin, we were able to get a group of 8 Waterloo firefighters a once-in-a-lifetime tour of the Senate chamber. They were here for the International Association of Firefighters Legislative Conference. These firefighters returned to Waterloo with a very informed understanding of the Senate and were deeply moved by the work we do. I left understanding just how important this legislation before us today is to them. The bill focuses on occupational cancer, of which our firefighters are at a severely heightened risk, and I would like to get some of what I have learned from them since their visit on the record today. First, from one of the firefighters on his return to Waterloo, and I quote, "While lobbying for cancer coverage in Ottawa, I returned home and one of our members died from occupational cancer within a week." From another, a common occurrence from our departments is that if members with occupational cancer do not make it to retirement without having their careers cut short or passing away while on active duty, they are dying soon into retirement. Firefighters are dying and dying young from occupational cancer. These cancers can come from years of exposure to toxic chemicals and gases that are the products of combustion. In some cases, this cancer can be directly linked to one incident, an example being the Horticultural Technologies fire in Kitchener. This was a large structure chemical fire in 1987. Colleagues, for a moment, let's just focus on the impact on this one fire I just referred to on the lives of those who confronted it. I quote the following personal experiences from Ed Brower, an instructor who has diligently researched the devastating effect this one fire had on the lives of those firefighters on duty years after the flames had been quelled. Dave Ferretti was a fitness and health enthusiast. He was often teased for snacking on nuts and berries. He was an avid cyclist, driving his bike through the winter using studded tires. Dave played competitive hockey in Southern Ontario. In April 1989, in a divisional title game near the end of the third period, Dave scored the winning goal, locked up the division title. 2 weeks later, only 32 years old, Dave went on sick leave and was subsequently diagnosed with primary liver cancer and died within 6 weeks. Dave's death was followed by that of Captain John Edward Staley, who, after being diagnosed with primary liver cancer, died in July of 1990 at age 57. During the summer of 1989, all within a few years, Sergeant Lloyd McKillop of the Waterloo Regional Police Service, who had been supervising the police, had been the supervising police officer at the fire, developed cancer. He died in May 1990 at age 48. Firefighter John Devo, who was the local union president, was diagnosed with terminal cancer in his lungs and spine. He died in April 1990 at age 46. Firefighter Henry DeCrew was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He died in February 1993, age 52. The following spring, not long after, William Misselbrook, who was the day shift platoon chief at the fire, died of liver cancer. He was 64. Several other firefighters who attended the blaze have skin cancers, prostate cancer, Parkinson's disease, and many other health problems. Information found on the website for firefighters for Parkinson's disease shows that 23 of 69 firefighters called to that blaze have either had cancer or Parkinson's disease. The site also reports that the 2 Kitchener firefighters, a Waterloo Regional Police Constable, and a female paramedic all fathered or gave birth to children with birth defects after their attendance at that fire. Colleagues, on a global note, last summer, the International Agency of Research on Cancer, the IARC, the specialized cancer agency of the World Health Organization, declared firefighting as a Group 1 carcinogens, meaning it found sufficient evidence to link the job of the risk of certain cancers. It is one of the only 5 occupations to receive this designation. While firefighters were validated by this announcement, it has taken decades to lobby to get presumptive workman's compensation coverage. It still does not go far enough. In Canada, last year, 95% of on-duty deaths among Canadian firefighters were linked to cancer. In 2018, a study found cancer killed Canadian firefighters about 3 times more than the general population. What is this greatest exposure that is causing the greatest risks? There are four sources of carcinogens that firefighters regularly encounter. They are chemicals released during fires, smoke and soot, asbestos, exhaust, and firefighting gear. Yes, the gear they wear is carcinogenic. You can see the subtle change if you know where to look. Remember when you or your children posed with firefighters in their gear? This is no longer done, as firefighters keep their protective gear on for as little a time as possible. The bill before us today is the request for the minister to develop a national framework designed to develop and raise awareness of cancers linked to firefighting, with the goal of improving access for firefighters to cancer prevention and treatment. The framework should be the result of robust and inclusive consultation. Finally, through this bill, the month of January will be known as Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. As I close today, I am reminded of my own experiences and curiosity as a young person. At the age of 9, in the wee hours of a snowy December morning, I awoke to the smell of smoke and heat. I ran from my second-floor bedroom and continued in vain to try to wake up my brothers and get them out of the house. As we watched our rented farmhouse rage in flames, we waited for the local rural firefighters to arrive. Following the fire, as we tried to salvage some items, even after industrial cleaning, the smell of smoke continued to be so strong. So much we had to throw away most of what we salvaged. From those days forward, as a curious young person, I always wondered what it was like to fight fires and what the impact of smoke and toxins were. Today, I have a much better idea. Colleagues, I ask for your support in getting this bill to committee as soon as possible so we can get the support where it is needed most. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.